What is up, everybody? I hope you guys are doing good. This has been an amazing week, not only for this country, for this party, but also for getting us a new Supreme Court justice. We are on our way to confirm Amy Coney Barrett. And this is a pivotal time in our country because, this process has been attacked left and right by the Democrats. They're calling this process a sham, which is interesting because we called the impeachment a sham, and it actually was. We called Russian collusion a sham, and it actually was. They have no argument against us confirming this justice because they know that this is all politics for them. And now they're having to reap what they sow. They lost an election. They lost 2016, something they cannot accept to this day. And now here is what the benefit is, not for them, but for us. A president does not serve 3.5 years. They serve 4 years. It is the constitutional duty of the President of the United States to nominate a justice when a seat is open, and then for the Senate to confirm them, if they so choose so. This is a very big, pivotal time, I should say, within this country. Not my grandparents, not your grandparents have lived within a period where we get to see the court swing to a constitutional majority. And this is only because of President Donald J. Trump. We got Gorsuch, a constitutionalist, an originalist. Kavanaugh, same thing. Next, Amy Coney Barrett. They're going to protect individual liberty. They're going to restrict out-of-control governments. They're going to protect freedom of expression, things that are near and dear to every American, whether they realize it or not. I will say that this hearing has been filled with nothing but defamation, not of ACB, but of the entire process itself. They've already gotten that criticism out of the way, and they know that attacking her isn't going to help them because it's going to bring their poll numbers down. Many Democrats like ACB, Amy Coney Barrett. So without further ado, I want to bring on my guest, Brendon Leslie. He's an investigative journalist. He's very well informed on this issue. We've both been watching the confirmation hearings. We're going to have some back-to-back analysis on this process. Welcome in, Brendon. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Thanks for coming on. So, we've been watching this entire process unfold, and it's been absolutely incredible. Just to see the Democrats in this game that they're playing. I mean, you have Kamala Harris, who believes she's Queen Almighty, and I know many of the viewers cannot stand her. I would be one to join them just based on solely her rhetoric and her demeanor, especially being on camera. I don't know why she's on camera, not there present on Capitol Hill, but it sort of adds some sort of dominance nature or feeling to it all. And I think maybe you feel the same way on this. Not just that, but we saw senators, asking basically for the recusal. They want Amy Coney Barrett to recuse herself. Cory Booker asking her if she will denounce white supremacy. I mean, what do you think of all this? What is your bird's eye view on this entire thing?
Yeah, well, as a constitutionalist conservative reporter, the way you got to look at this is, at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is carry out the Constitution. Democrats are going to say we're playing petty politics. It's time for them to grow up. President Trump is president until January 20th. There's nothing changing that. He's not. This is what they got to do, and this is what they're going to do. She's going to be confirmed. What the Democrats are doing is they know the entire country is watching these hearings, so they're playing games. They're trying to bring up the Affordable Care Act and trying to get her to fold on her personal feelings when that's not her job. Her job is to be a judge, and that's what she's been doing, is keeping her personal feelings to herself.
No, yeah, and I mean, you're 100% right. I wanted to touch on this part of Hirono, where Senator Hirono, where she's saying, have you ever sexually assaulted anyone? She was asking this question to Amy Coney Barrett, who, has children, devout Catholic, asking her this question. What's actually ironic is the only time Democrats ever care about sexual assault is when it has to do with a Republican. But if your name is Joe Biden, nothing to see here, folks, even with the numerous videos, everything, nothing to see here.
There's no allegations. ACB has zero allegations against her. The fact that she brought up this question was nothing but petty politics. She was doing it because of the big swing and miss with the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. But even then, they had the tiniest of little evidence, not even evidence, if you will. And they struck out
They had nothing. They had a yearbook, Brendon. They had a yearbook. They had a yearbook that they said, oh, here's a yearbook where Blasey Ford had signed her name or something of that nature. I don't even know if it was that much detail, but they were trying to use this yearbook to say that, oh, we have this. This means he sexually assaulted her. And that wasn't the case whatsoever. I mean, that was a sham in itself. And I was figuring we were going to see a repetition. I'm not surprised the senator brought up the question, have you ever sexually assaulted anybody? Why don't you ask the guy running for president of the United States on the DNC ticket? Has Joe Biden ever sexually assaulted somebody? Ask him that question. He's going to lie. But I mean, numerous stories on that. But that's a whole separate topic. I won't get into that. That
shows you how crazy it is. They had nothing there, and they looked terrible doing it with Brett Kavanaugh. And now you got Amy Coney Barrett, who is renowned and just loved by everyone.
Yeah, the Democrats love her.
Through the mud like that? That's ridiculous. They're doing it, let's be frank. The only reason they're doing it is because the Democrats are pissed off that it's not Hillary Clinton picking her third Supreme Court justice and it's President Donald Trump. That's the only reason.
And I think it's also, ACB is a renowned scholar. She's known within her field for being an amazing judge. Not just, a judge of character, but somebody who has an amazing family, did amazing in law school, top of her class at law school. Just as a well-rounded, well-liked person. Her school, the law school she went to, I believe it was some students, some alma mater, just released a letter supporting her, and it was about 200-something names that they just put into the record tonight. She's supported by people not just on the right, but also on the left. And that's why Democrats are having such a difficult time at attacking her. I thought it was absolutely incredible. And I'm sure many of the viewers as well, you guys saw this today during the confirmation where there was a photo taken from bird's eye view from sort of the galleyway. And she has a notepad in front of her and there's nothing on it, just the letterhead of the United States Senate. And she had absolutely nothing on this. She didn't need notes because she knows and she believes what she's going to say. God is leading her in the direction of glory. And that is just so important. It's something that really stuck out to me is this lady, she doesn't need notes for something where you're getting grilled. You're getting grilled for how long? And she was just going based on her faith and what she knew. And I thought that was that stood out to me.
Isn't that amazing? There's been such a... people always want to give me flack for saying this, but there's a war on Christianity nowadays. It's a very silent one, but there is one. We don't talk about God. We don't talk about faith enough in this country, and I feel that's to blame for many of the issues that we're facing in today's society. And just have this woman just sit there and let God, guide her, essentially. It just proves that she's the smartest person in the room, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, and the crazy thing is that these senators, have spent their entire careers, doing this process where they've done it a few times or what have you. And they come in with these notes, these pre-prepared notes by their staffers full of vitriol and hate, where they just want to get that one key line in there that they can throw into a campaign ad and say, hey, look, guys, I attacked Amy Coney Barrett, That's what they do. It's what this whole process is about. It's in some way, shape, or form, they've made it a sham, just like they did with impeachment. It was never about facts. We know that. It was never about what the evidence was. It was based on hearsay. It was based on slanderous lies, and there was nothing None of the witnesses provided evidence. We saw that. You look at Russian collusion, which we now know was set up by the Clinton campaign. Barack Obama knew about it. Brendon knew about it. Coney was on board. They were all on board with it. And we go through this whole last 3.5, 4-year period of these shams to try and remove this guy simply because they can't accept the fact that they lost the 2016 election. And now we get to this point where it is his constitutional duty to affirm, nominate, and then the Senate confirm this nominee. And now they want to call this a sham as well. They're obstructionists. And I said that when we came on the stream earlier. The Democrats have no other goal besides obstructing this president and obstructing this process because they cannot get over the simple fact that they lost, their queen lost. And you know what? I'm very confident it's going to happen again in November because they have become nothing but a bunch of sore losers and crybabies. And I hate to, use it for simpler terms, but they have become so distraught over the fact that they cannot get their way. They didn't get 3 Supreme Court justices. They didn't get that to have that opportunity, and it's biting them. It's biting down and tearing down in them so hard right now.
Look at all their campaigns. Look at every single Democrat that's campaigning right now for the upcoming election. What is their platforms? I'm not Donald Trump. That's their platform. We're going to beat Donald Trump. Okay. What is he doing that you can do better? That's what infuriates me about the Biden-Harris ticket. They never actually put out a real plan that says this is what we're going to do different from Trump and this is why it's going to be better. They don't do that. And for some reason, half the country is manipulated. And it's because, and you know this, you and me have talked about this before. The liberals control media. They control our school system. The odds act against us. So it's quite amazing how strong the Republicans really are when you think about all the cards that are being dealt against us.
And it's interesting you bring that up because I wanted to bring up another point. I know there's a lot of distaste out there for Jeff Sessions. I have some respect for the former Attorney General because I knew him on a closer level. But I wanted to talk about recusal because this topic not only affected him, but it's also now a conversation starter during this confirmation hearing. The Democrats are essentially demanding that ACB recuse herself in the case that it makes it to the Supreme Court that there has to be a deciding vote on the election. She responded multiple times by saying she is not a Trump pawn. My opinion on this, and I think many others support this as well, is you should not disqualify yourself on hypothetical conflicts of interest. This is what this is, a hypothetical conflict of interest. If we were to know that there was going to be irregularities that reach up to the Supreme Court, definitely, and there was something that happens prior to the election, if the Supreme Court made a decision on it prior to, then sure, whatever. But we don't know that that's going to happen. So why would you admit during your confirmation or come out during your confirmation saying that you're going to recuse yourself? The Democrats really have no clue what they're doing when they're asking her that question.
Well, they're trying to get her to slip up, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a lot of gotchas. It was a lot of gotchas during the entire process. But, when you look at Sessions, Attorney General Sessions, this guy made a big mistake because he outright recused himself from anything to do with the Russia investigation, including the special counsel. In my opinion, exactly. He could have recused himself on a case-by-case basis or recused himself in regards to the criminal investigations that went into Paul Manafort, Michael Flynn, and Gates. He could have done that. He did not have to do it the entire time. One point that I want to bring up that really helps Amy Coney Barrett during this entire process is a good article that the National Review released today. It was written by Andrew C. McCarthy, and they talk about Representative or Justice Breyer. They talk about Justice Breyer and how many people believed that he should have recused himself when he was on the Supreme Court when a certain topic came up, a topic in regards to the court's sentencing guidelines. So basically your mandatory minimums. There was a case that came up And one of the law deans at the time, Erwin Chemerinsky, said there's no doubt that Stephen Breyer is one of the quote-unquote parents of the federal sentencing guidelines. Breyer had been, of course, at the time, chief counsel to the Senate Judiciary Committee and one of the people behind writing this process. He goes on to say that Breyer was critical in passing the 1984 Sentencing Reform Act that established authority for the guidelines. Breyer was appointed also to the Sentencing Commission. And then when there was a case that reached the Supreme Court, let's see here. Yeah, it was over the Affordable Care Act. Let's see. My apologies, lost my point. Well, there was a case that reached the Supreme Court, and they created the guidelines they reevaluated the guidelines, I should say, in this case. And Breyer participated. That's the most critical point here. This article is all over the place. Breyer participated, which was a critical point because he could have recused himself. But what is important to note in this entire process is that there are only 9 Supreme Court justices. When you're down at the federal level, when you're at the appellate level, and you're having like an en banc among 3 or 4 judges reviewing over something, then yes, you can recuse yourself pretty easily because you can be replaced. Someone will come in from another district or what have you, or another judge in the district. But it is not. This is the end of the road. This is the highest court in the land. It is not proper for that to happen. And in extreme situations, yes, it could happen. But the main point here to make is that she has said that if she met that crossroad, she would do so if necessary. That was one of the key things that stuck out to me, because it was almost like the Democrats were trying to get her in a gotcha moment to say that she would recuse herself on an election issue. So basically, with that same logic, Brendon, is that you would also need to have Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and ACB recuse themselves. So then you have the entire court full of, in a sense, lefties who obviously. It would make absolutely zero sense. Then you're politicizing the court anyway by doing so. So it shouldn't matter who the president is. The judges are sound in their judgment, and I think they'll know how to make those decisions. They didn't get to this point in their life by being corrupt or doing illegal things or acting indiscriminate on the court.
The Democrats are hoping that their people on the court, the liberals, the lefties, they want them to be like legislators, which that's not their job. Amy Coney Barrett was picked.
Well, that's the progressives for you.
Yeah, and the highest recommendation she got from people of both sides of the aisle in politics, all her students at Notre Dame, saying that she looks at the text and interprets the text. She doesn't bring in her personal feelings. She won't bring in her personal feelings on abortion or whatever it is. She's going to interpret the text as law, and that's how she's going to rule. She's saying all the right things, and she said it over and over and over again for 2 straight days. What more can you? There's nothing. You can't not confirm her. It makes zero sense from the Democratic side of things.
Well, the thing is, too, and I think all the viewers need to understand this, there's no way they can stop this. There's no way for them to filibuster. There's no way.
Nights at this point by letting the Democrats have their show.
Yeah, I mean, by allowing them, and it's also kind of a pro thing too, or plus for us, because they are making a fool of themselves now. The reason why they're not doing the whole Kavanaugh type show that they did, a year ago, is because the fact that there's an election right around the corner and they can't afford to mess it up. So that's why they're being a little bit more calm than they were before, because they know they want to try and win this election, which isn't going to happen. But I think you make a really good point. They are putting on a circus. If it were up to me, I would say, let's skip all of this stuff and go to a vote. I would go straight to a vote. And I encourage them to do so in the next few days. I mean, because we're getting nowhere with this. Everybody already knows who ACB is, what she stands for. They already have heard saying that she's going to be a fair and impartial judge and follow her oath, as she's done before on the 7th District. Go ahead and confirm her. What are we waiting for? Let's stop playing games. Let's confirm ACB. Let's add 300 conservative justices Supreme Court, or not the Supreme Court, to the federal judiciary. And you have to look at that too. All the people watching this, Trump has confirmed well over 250. I mean, within the next couple of months, we'll be going up to 300 judicial appointments to the federal courts,
You need to
including the Supreme Court.
That
has not happened. That has not happened probably since George Washington. You are seeing, and these aren't old judges. These people aren't 80 years old. You're looking at people who are in their 30s and 40s who are going to be serving for 30, 40 years.
with a conservative mindset. It was so
With a conservative mindset. That is the most critical thing about it. That is what this president has brought. But one last point I want to get to, which is, we talked about this before, Brendon, is Cory Booker. Where Cory Booker, now there's 2 points that I want to get to. He said tonight, people are voting right now. The American people should decide. If all of you remember, yeah, exactly. During the vice presidential debate, Kamala Harris came out and said, she attacked Mike Pence, and she said, Abraham Lincoln in year of 1864 decided not to put a nominee forth because he wanted the people to decide because an election was a month away. This was categorically false. October 1864, he didn't put a nominee forth because the Senate was not in session. When they came back into session in December, the following day, put a nominee forth, Lincoln did, and it was confirmed the same day. Kamala lied to your faces, not the first time it happened. Also keep in mind, president's elected for 4 years, not 3.5 years. It's his job, his duty to fill the seat, Mr. Booker. The second point, he says, he asked ACB if she would condemn white supremacy. ACB responded immediately and said, of course, yes. She condemned white supremacy, right? He goes on in this conversation and he basically accuses the president of not denouncing white supremacy. We all know Cory Booker is full of it, so we're going to call him out right here tonight on the RF Angle. Take a look at this video of the president condemning white supremacy.
The White House, where the president today made his strongest denunciation yet of white supremacy. Weijia Jiang is there.
In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy.
President Trump denounced white supremacy today.
And there you have it.
I love the strongest yet. How many times do you want him to say it?
I don't know. This is probably the 7th or 8th time he's actually made a public statement saying that he condemns white supremacy. And it seems to me that they never want to remember that. That is key here. He has condemned white supremacy. ACB has condemned white supremacy. We are not going to repeat ourselves because you have dementia like your presidential candidate. I hate to say it. I'm getting sick and tired of it. He's denounced white supremacy numerous times. All right. We don't need to have this conversation anymore. He doesn't support it. I don't get what the point is of continuing. I mean, it was funny because Jim Acosta put out a tweet saying that the president has never condemned white supremacy. You saw the tweet. He put out a tweet saying he's never condemned white supremacy. And then in 2017, Jim Acosta had tweeted out saying the president condemned white supremacy today. Look up your tweets. It's not that hard.
Well, that's
especially when it's a topic
there for a pawn for the Democratic Party.
It just upsets me. And that's why the topic is so fire-starting for many people, is because we know the guy's not a racist. I mean, he has done so much for the African-American community, record low unemployment numbers, the Platinum Plan, which is going to bring back hundreds of millions of dollars in investment capital to the urban communities, 500,000. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at the numbers. They're incredible. And this is all to help the African-American community, more than Barack Obama has ever done in his entire presidency, which is critical. And yet they'll call the man a racist. What did Obama do? Right? Obama gave people Obama phones. He gave them telephones. Go ahead, Brendon. I'm gonna get myself carried away here on this topic.
My turn to get carried away on this topic. You know why they do this? Because he is the smartest guy in the room, and he condemns the actions of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Let's be honest. They're not fighting for social injustices. They're fighting for Marxism. They're fighting for the end of our democracy and capitalistic society as we know it. And they're duping millions of actual protesters into fighting for Marxism. They have no idea. So the reasons why they chose the Black Lives Matter name is because it's a marketing genius tool. When you say you're not with Black Lives Matter, they're saying the left will twist that into you're literally saying Black Lives Matter don't matter. No, he's saying that the organization that's pushing Marxism and communism is not okay. It's a marketing genius on their part.
You know, it is. And I give them a little bit of credit. But I mean, when we talk about BLM, and we're getting a little carried off topic because this is about ACB. And God bless Amy Coney Barrett, the stuff that she is dealing with right now. You have a professor, I believe it's at Harvard or Stanford, I cannot remember the university, who said that she is a white colonist because she has 2 adopted black children from Africa. They called her a colonist because she has adopted children. They didn't say the same thing to Angelina Jolie when she adopted 10 of them. Why are we saying this to ACB? I don't know. I can't
believe that's a thing.
I had no clue. I'd never heard somebody be called a colonist before, except back when you looked at the British Empire colonizing in India. But
I had to actually read that over and over and over again because I had no idea what he was trying. I did not realize he was actually attacking her with that. I was like, what?
Well, let me go into one thing here that I think is very key, not in regards to ACB, but I think this is a question many of the viewers have asked me before because I wanted some investigative work into it. Where is the money going?
For Black Lives
Matter. When you donate to Black Lives Matter, where is that money going? Do you see it going back into the black communities to help reinvest and build up these black communities that have been destroyed? Look at Kenosha. On the first night of the Kenosha riots, majority of black-owned businesses were burned down and destroyed. Did BLM money go towards helping repair those businesses? No. Is it going to repairing the schools in these inner urban communities? No. Is it going to invest in job growth, resumes, anything to help somebody get a job? No. What is it going to? Where is the money going? Either a few people are getting very rich or it's going to Democratic candidates to help them get elected for office. We're talking how much, Brendon? Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions, probably close to the billion, if not over $1 billion by now, in money given to this organization and nothing to show for. And people put all of their faith in this, just like they do behind a candidate who doesn't know where he is half the time. They put all of their faith behind this label, and this label is doing nothing for them. If they were to open their eyes and look at this administration, they would see the complete opposite of what is being promoted and parroted by the left.
2 points I want to bring up. One, there was a poll that was done recently, I believe it was in California, a couple months ago. 54% of that poll viewed Black Lives Matter favorably. Now they redid it. 39% of those people view them favorably. So that's a good sign. I think people are starting to
people are waking up, which is positive.
Where else that money is going, as you know me personally, I've gone to many of the protests in many different states and have witnessed what's happening firsthand. It's supplying this money that they raise. It's supplying these protesters with supplies, whether it be to agitate and make it an attack, or food and stuff. They got these things called riot kitchens that drive around the country, these big buses, and they're feeding these protesters. Right. They're keeping them around, and they're supplying them with shields, bricks, stuff like that. Money's paid.
You bring up such a good point because I wish I had the clip right. I wish I had the clip right now because during the debate, Biden said that it's an idea. He said that Antifa is an idea. And when you mix Antifa and BLM together, it's basically the same stench. You can't tell. You have Antifa and BLM rioting in cities, destroying property. Yes, there are peaceful protests, and I commend those people for doing it peacefully. But when you have the after night hours and people start burning down courthouses and they wonder why federal troops or federal agents are protecting courthouses, well, there's the answer to your question. But what is really gets me off guard here is that Biden said that Antifa is an idea. It is not an idea. They operate, it's very interesting to see how they operate because I've done some research on this. I've had people share research with me as well. They operate on the black web. They have a website that looks just like Facebook, except they made it and it's got their logos on it. And they they sell weapons through here. You can sell drugs through this platform. You can do so many different things on here. But one of the most important things is organizing. You can organize. And they organize so well because the moment that there is something like a police shooting or a protest over a statue or, whatever, they are there.
Ruling.
And the vans are there. They were there on Breonna Taylor's night where the U-Haul showed up.
Yep.
And they have these vehicles where they're just unloading signs that say abolish the police. They got nightsticks. They got shields. It is really incredible. And that's not an idea. And I just want to leverage that for a second. That is not an idea. That is an organization. That's a domestic terrorist organization. So I don't know what has to be said more on that issue. They need to be classified as domestic terrorists. That's what they are. And Joe Biden needs to acknowledge them. I don't know how a guy could run for office and not acknowledge that this faction that you see on the nightly news destroying communities is not a terrorist organization.
Because it's his supporters. These are little
and
Joe
that they're an
Biden
idea. I know. And he doesn't want to denounce them. They're not voting for him anyway. These are Bernie Sanders guys. They're not voting for him anyway. If anything, they'll probably try to vote for Trump or not vote at all. But they're not going to vote for Joe Biden. They have no reason to vote for Joe Biden. He doesn't represent them.
When I was in Washington, D.C. at quote unquote Black Lives Matter Plaza, which is right outside the White House, Antifa brought these huge speakers so that you can hear them speaking for about 10 blocks out. And literally every speaker was, we're voting for Joe Biden. We need to vote for Joe Biden, pushing Joe Biden's messaging. These are his rallies, these hate group, domestic terrorist rallies.
You know what? And I think that this is an interesting point as well. Everyone watching, go to Antifa.com and tell me where Antifa.com goes to. Please do tell me where that goes, because you will be quite surprised to find that Antifa.com goes to Joe Biden's website. I digress. It really does. So I know we got off topic here. I want to do more of these videos, especially with you, Brendon. This was great. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're not following me on Facebook, it's Ryan Fournier. My name is down there in the corner, or right here. And Brendon's is over there on the same side. Reach out to us if you want us to talk about a certain topic. Email me at info@ryanfournier.com, info@ryanfournier.com. We will get your questions next time and talk about the issues that matter most to you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And remember, we are going to confirm Amy Coney Barrett. Vote on November 3rd. This is an election of freedom versus socialism. Let's defeat the left, take back the country, and keep it great and make it greater than it's been ever before. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Brendon.
Thank you.